If you remember our discussion at the beginning, when we started income tax, I discussed there are two kinds of tax laws in India. Can you hear the voice? Voice is clear. ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಲರ್ ಇದೆಯಾ? ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ?
Yes, sir.
When we started our income tax class at the beginning, we had discussed there are two kinds of taxes which exist in India. First one is direct tax, another one is indirect tax. So, what do you mean by direct tax? Basically, in direct tax, a tax will be levied on the income or the earning capacity of the assessee or a person, the burden of the tax cannot be shifted from one person to another. For example, income tax. Income tax usually in India, the only direct tax which exists is income tax. Income tax is levied on the income of the person. For example, if a person is in the business and he is business of the sale of a computer, if he is making a profit every year, 2 lakh rupee profit from the purchase and sale of a computer, then on the 2 lakh rupee, the person who is doing the business, he only responsible to pay the taxes and he cannot shift that responsibility to any other person. So basically, the burden to pay, the burden will be cost on the single person, which cannot be shifted. That is called direct taxes. However, in the case of indirect tax, what is Srikanth SBS? Two names, huh? Srikanth and Srikanth SBS. In case of indirect tax, the burden can be shifted from one person to another. Usually the burden will not be taken by the supplier. Supplier will be shifting the burden of taxes to the ultimate consumer or the end user. So how, again, it is not directly, it is indirectly getting collected. The government is not directly collecting the taxes from the end user. The government is going to collect indirectly from the end user. Let us take an example. You go to a restaurant. In the restaurant, you order for a food, and after ordering for a food, you will going to give a bill. You just observe a bill. In the bill, along with the food value, let's say 150 rupees, he is going to add 5% GST also for that food value. Isn't it? The restaurant person is going to collect in the form of a GST. GST is also one of the indirect taxes levied in India. So he is going to collect the tax, and after collecting, the tax will be remitted to the government. The government actually levies, the levy will be on one person. However, the burden to pay the tax will be transferred to another person in the case of a indirect tax. Now, if you remember the table again, what we discussed in the earlier class, the incident and impact will be under the direct tax will be on the same person. It will not be changed from one person to another. However, in the case of an indirect tax, the impact of tax is on one person and the incidence on the another person. The burden cannot be shifted. However, in the case of indirect tax, it can be shifted from one person to another. There is no end to it. It's like in the supply chain, whoever is involved, for example, from the manufacturer is going to transfer the burden to the distributor or a wholesaler or a retailer. Again, from the retailer or distributor is going to shift the burden to the end consumer or ultimate consumer, whoever is going to consume that goods. So who will be bearing this ultimate burden? In the case of indirect tax, consumer. Next, viability of payment. The direct tax are lesser burden and than the indirect taxes, as the people involved in the direct tax are less and can be and in the case of a direct tax, you can precisely estimate what will be your taxes based upon your income earning capability. However, in the case of indirect tax, it is a indirect taxes are borne by the consumers of commodities and services, irrespective of their financial capability. For example, in case of income tax, we have seen slab rate was there, 5%, 20%, and also we had a 30%. In case of a, again, there is a new slab rate where you will see 5%, 10%, 15, 20, 25, 30, like that tax rates are there. So again, these tax rates are fixed based on income earning capability of a person. There is a progressive tax in the nature. But however, in the case of indirect tax, the tax structure was followed is not progressive, it is a regressive. In the sense, it is not differentiating the person whether you have an income earning capability or you don't have an income earning capability. The rate is fixed. For example, 5%, if you go and eat, let's say common man who is earning daily 100 rupees, if he goes and eat in a restaurant, for him also 5% tax. A person of, let's say, earning per day 10,000 rupees, if he goes and eats in a restaurant, for him also tax rate is 5%. So that means there is no differentiate in the tax structure followed under the indirect tax with respect to the income earning capability of a person. Administrative wise, direct tax is more direct tax, the administration cost of the collecting direct tax is more, and improper administration may result in evasion. But however, when it comes to indirect tax, the tax authority need not follow up with the end consumer, because the burden to collect the tax from the end consumer lies on the suppliers, lies on the manufacturer, whoever is doing the business. So hence the cost of collecting indirect tax is very less. Penalty in the case of any evasion, if tax is not paid, then penalty will be directly levied on the person who is assessed. However, in the case of indirect tax, if the GST or if any other taxes are not paid to the appropriate government, the penalty will be levied on the person who is carrying on the business or profession. Now, anyway, these are all basic points we already discussed when we started the our tax classes earlier. Now we'll get into the GST, goods and service tax. Before getting into the goods and service tax, we need to understand, since this is a new law, new indirect tax regime which came into force with effect from 1st July 2017. Earlier to this, we didn't have a GST. We had various indirect tax laws. Now the question comes, what made government to introduce GST law? What was the defect which led to introduction of a GST law in India? We need to understand that, then we'll get into the GST law. Let us take an example. This is all prior to GST. Whatever we're going to discuss is prior to GST, so that we can understand what was the drawback or what are the difficulties faced by the businessmen in India in the earlier tax structure. Now, if a person, let's say A Limited, is manufacturing a mobile phone, he is a manufacturer. Now, when A Limited manufactures, let us say manufacturing cost for A Limited was rupees 10,000. On this 10,000, A Limited was supposed to pay excise duty. There is a first tax. Again, this excise duty, let us take an example, at the rate of 10%. Excise duty at the rate of 10% was to be paid by the manufacturer. What is the 10% of the 10,000? 1,000 rupees is the excise duty. Not only this, when the same mobile phone is at the time of sale, obviously when the A Limited manufactures, A Limited will not keep the mobile phone with them. Again, it is meant to be sold to the ultimate consumer. Whenever you want to purchase a mobile phone, how you are going to get? Directly, let's say for example, if you want to purchase a Vivo mobile phone, directly Vivo company go biಟ್ಟು phone purchase ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? Or if you want to purchase iPhone ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ Apple company go ಬಿಟ್ಟು purchase ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? How you are going to purchase? Obviously, either through online, that is through Flipkart, Amazon, or etc. or in a local retailer or from a local retailer, isn't it? That means there is in a supply chain there are various persons are involved. First there will be a manufacturer, second there will be a distributor, third there will be a retailer. Distributor in the sense he may be a wholesaler or a authorized selling agent, distributor. Ultimately it will reach to the consumer. That means in order to reach to the consumer, there are three steps are involved usually in the case of the goods. First, manufacturer will manufacture the good, then it will come to the distributor, then it will come to the retailer. From the retailer, it will be sold to the consumer. So similarly here also, when the manufacturer manufactures the mobile phone, the immediately on the manufacturing cost or on the selling price, basically there is a concept of assessable value even under the excise duty. That is nothing but a selling price. What is the price at which A Limited is going to sell it to the distributor? On that excise duty was levied, will take a percentage as 10%, 1000 rupees. Not only this, assume it is a local sales, that is intra sales, within a state sale. There is one more tax which was getting levied is VAT. Again, we'll take it as 15% as a VAT rate. Now, for applicability of VAT, the assessable value was different. Now, excise duty we calculated 10% straight away on the selling price. But however, the VAT was not calculated on the 10,000 rupees. VAT was calculated on 10,000 plus 1,000, 11,000 rupees. On the 11,000, VAT used to be calculated. What is the 15% of 11,000 rupees? 1,650. 1,650 rupees was the VAT. Now, what is the total amount now? 11,000, 12,650. Okay. This is the total value to retailer. So, what the retailer will do? The retailer is not manufacturing, isn't it? He is only purchasing the mobile phones. You take an example of Sangeeta mobile phone, Sangeeta store or a Purvika mobile store. Or in what simply they purchase from the manufacturers and they sell it in the retail to the ultimate or end consumer. Now in the retailer, for him, at what price is getting the mobile phone? 12,650 rupees, isn't it? Now you will be selling the same mobile phone for rupees, retailer to consumer. Now retailer to consumer. For retailer, what is the cost of the mobile phone? See, this 1,650 rupees, whatever he has paid as VAT, this alone can be taken as an input tax credit by the retailer. Input tax credit anta ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, this will not be a cost to him. This he can take it as an input. Who can take a retailer? Retailer cannot take 1,000 rupees excise duty paid earlier as an input. What do you mean by input? Input anta ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, I will tell you what do you mean by input. Let us complete this transaction, then we will come back to the what is input. Now retailer to consumer, what is the cost to the retailer? Cost to the retailer is 11,000 rupees, 11,000, and he is going to add his profit margin of rupees, let's say 2,000. Okay. Now total 13,000 plus there is a VAT, plus there was a VAT at 15%. On the selling price, again there is a VAT at 15%. What is the VAT at 15% on 13,000 rupees? 13,000 into 15%. 1,950 rupees is the VAT, which was to be paid. Since it was a local sale, which was sold within the same state, a VAT was levied. So 13,000 into plus 1,950. It was 14,950 rupees was the ultimate selling price of a mobile phone. So if you are an end consumer, you ಎಷ್ಟು ಪೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? 14,950 rupees ಪೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು earlier, isn't it? Now I told this 1,650 rupees I didn't take it as a cost. Why? Because the retailer, let's say Mr. X was the retailer, he can take that 1,650 rupees, whatever VAT, only VAT portion was paid to the manufacturer as an input tax. What do you mean by input tax? On the sale of the same mobile phone from the retailer to the consumer, there was a levy of VAT on the sale component. There was a levy of VAT. you need to remember excise duty is not applicable here. Excise duty was applicable only at the time of manufacture. ಯಾರು ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು? whether X was manufacturing the mobile phone? No. Who was manufacturing? A Limited was manufacturing. So at the time of manufacture, A already paid excise duty. Over. At the time of sale, there is only one tax on the good. Earlier, that is VAT. If it is a within a sale, within a state, that is local sale. If it is a interstate, if it is a interstate, that means outside the state, if you are selling, then instead of a VAT, the supplier has to pay CST. That is central sales tax was levied. Now assume it is a local sale. Now in this case, the VAT was levied here because it is a sale. No manufacturing activity is involved here. 1950 rupees has to be paid by the Mr. X. Mr. X 1950 rupees pay by government. Now what Mr. X will do ultimately in the hands of Mr. X, VAT payable on the sale was 1950 rupees. Less VAT already paid, isn't it, to A Limited. A Limited is already paid at the time of purchase. How much he has paid? 1650. Ultimately, how much net payment X has to make? Net payment 300 rupees. 300 rupees has to be paid by the net payment to government in cash. Getting the point? Cash alli X ಎಷ್ಟು ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ? 300 rupees ಅಷ್ಟೇ. So how did he get 300 rupees? Actually the output VAT, that is on the sale, VAT payable was 1950. However, I already paid 1650 on the purchase. That I am utilizing for the purpose of offsetting against my liability of 1950. That is called input tax credit. I can take on the input on A. What do you mean by input? Input is nothing but a incoming material for me, isn't it? Input in order to provide output. So what is my input in order to provide output? Yes, same mobile phone. Mobile phone was the input. On that, what is the tax paid? That will become an input tax. So that input tax I am taking a credit. That's why it is called input tax credit. Now question, you can ask a question. So this 1000 rupees also Mr. X has paid. Can he not take that credit of 1000 rupees? The answer is no. Answer is no. The reason, this 1000 rupees whatever was paid to the central government. The 1650 rupees VAT amount is paid to the state government. Getting the difference? So one tax which was levied by the central government and collected by the central government, and another tax was levied by the state government and collected by the state government. Now when it comes to the Mr. X's case, X's sale case, in this scenario you tell me whether any tax is levied by the central government. X, whatever X is selling to the ultimate consumer in this transaction, whether any tax is levied by the central government? No. Only one tax was levied, that is VAT. This VAT amount was levied by the state government. Getting the point? Now, for the payment of a state government tax to the state government, you cannot take the credit of whatever the tax you have paid to the central government under the earlier law. Getting the point? This was causing a difficulty. Now, if you observe first drawback here, whatever the observations you tell me, first drawback, there was a tax on tax. What is mean by tax on tax? Now, how I have calculated VAT here? VAT at the rate of 15% I have calculated 1650 rupees. And what amount I have calculated that VAT? I didn't calculate the VAT portion on the value of the mobile phone. Value of the mobile phone ಮೇಲೆ calculate ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ ನಾನು. Cost of the mobile phone ಮೇಲೆ calculate ಮಾಡಿದ್ನ? No. And what value I have calculated? I have calculated this VAT amount on the selling price of the mobile phone, that is cost of the mobile phone plus excise duty. That is 11,000 rupees consists of cost of the mobile phone plus excise duty. Again, excise duty is nothing but a tax only. So no. Now on the time calculated 15% VAT. That means effectively I have paid 15% VAT even on the excise duty portion. That is called tax on tax was there. That is again nothing but a cascading effect which was there in the earlier laws, isn't it? That is one drawback. First drawback, cascading effect. What do you mean by cascading effect? Is nothing but a tax on tax. Getting the point? How the transaction, how the cascading effect was there in the earlier laws, how the tax on tax was getting calculated. That is first one. Second, this is excise duty whatever paid by Mr. X at the time of purchase to A Limited was not available as a credit, input tax credit. This is also called as excise duty whatever is also called as CENVAT, Central Value Added Tax ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕೂಡ ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ರು. CENVAT ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. Getting the point? This was never allowed as a input tax credit for a retailers or for a dealers or a traders ಗೆ excise duty amount ಏನು ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಿ, that was never allowed as an input tax credit. That's why if 1000 rupees he was not offsetting against the liability, 1950 rupees liability against offset ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. That means CENVAT credit, CENVAT credit was not available to dealer. Next, this is for a local sale. We'll just slightly modify what happens if there is an interstate. Okay? Between the two states, if there is a transaction, what was the tax impact? We take the same example. Up to here, there is no change. Up to excise duty portion, there is no change. But afterward, there is going to be slight change. Now, let us say A Limited is in Karnataka. That is a manufacturer selling to Mr. Z who is in Tamil Nadu. Mr. Z who is in Tamil Nadu. In this case, since the transaction is a manufacturer, A Limited is a manufacturer, isn't it? Manufacturing company. And he is a dealer. Now, for a manufacturing, what is the selling price of a mobile phone? Selling price 10,000. Obviously, there was a levy of excise duty at the rate of 10%. That is 1,000. Now, since it is not a local sale, there was a levy of CST, Central Sales Tax, at the rate of 2% earlier. This is also called as origin tax. Yav state alli origin ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಆ state was levying a central sales tax at the rate of 2%, isn't it? On the 11,000 rupees, what is the 2% of central sales tax? 11,000 into 2%?
220.
220 rupees. 220. So what is the total amount now? 11,220 rupees is the total amount. When it comes to the dealer, see, you just observe slight change is there between a local sale and the interstate sale under the earlier law. Now, I told in the case of a local sale, the cost to the retailer will be 11,000 rupees anta helidde, because it was a local sale. He had paid VAT. But here, since it is an interstate sale, the Mr. Z has paid a CST at the rate of 2%, that is central sales tax at the rate of 2%. This central sales tax cannot be taken as input tax credit. In the other state, Tamil Nadu state alli CST ಏನು ಪೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ 2% to the Karnataka state government, that cannot be taken as a input tax credit. So that means what will happen? What is the cost to the Mr. Z now? Cost will become 11,220 rupees. You add the same profit of 2,000, same profit level, that is 2,000 rupees profit level, or in order to maintain the same selling price, what will happen? The profit has to be reduced. Same selling price barbeku anta helidre, because 14,950 rupees selling price ಬರಬೇಕು. That means before tax, what is the amount should be there? Before tax 13,000 should be there. So you reduce 13,000 minus 11,220. 13,000 minus 11,220. 1,780. 1,780 rupees as a margin or a profit. So total it comes to 13,000, and again there was a VAT since it was sold to the end consumer within the same state. There was a Tamil Nadu VAT Act which was levying a tax at the rate of 15%. Assume VAT rate is also 15% in the Tamil Nadu also. So the VAT amount will come to 1,950, and the total cost was 14,950 ultimate selling price to consumer. This we are assuming selling price will be same. If this dealer wants to maintain the same profit margin of 2,000 anta helidre, selling price will get increases. Getting the point? Now tell me how much is the dealer has to pay to the government in cash? Tamil Nadu government has the VAT, entire 1,950 rupees has to be paid in cash. Getting the point? Cash only payment ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, because there is no input available. Here there was the input available of 1,650 rupees. Here there is no input available. Entire 1,950 rupees has to be paid in cash to the whom? Cash to the Tamil Nadu state government. Now in this entire transaction, you can observe one thing. The CST of 220 rupees is causing a problem to the dealer, isn't it? Locally sale ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ on the same mobile phone sale ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ 2,000 rupees profit ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. But since it is purchased from outside the state and sold within a state, ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? The profit was getting reduced, or other way around, ultimately the selling price would have been more. Assume profit na reduce ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. I am not going to compromise with the profit. I will add 2,000 rupees only margin. So what will happen? So it will become a 13,220 plus 15% VAT amount. What is the 15% VAT amount on a 13,220? 13,220 into 15% VAT, you will get 9,983. 1,983. You add that 13,220. Your ultimate selling price would have been 15,203. If you want to maintain the same profit level, dealer he wants to maintain the same profit level, selling price estaagtade ultimately 15,200. Why there is a difference? This difference was because of this CST, which cannot be taken as an input tax credit. Again, that is, see, already SENVAT about whatever this 1,000 rupees excise duty, adana credit ತಗೊಳಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. Over and above this CST, there was a cascading effect also. First in place cascading effect was there. Tax on tax 220 rupees ಯಾವ್ದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ calculate ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು? Not only on the selling price, it was calculated also on the excise duty. There was a tax on tax, that is cascading effect. Second, SENVAT credit also not available to the dealer. Over and above this CST, whatever he has paid, that credit also not available to the dealer. So this was causing difficulties. So we'll take CST, central sales tax, credit was not available to dealers or anybody else for that matter. Getting the point? So what are the drawbacks we discussed till now? First one, cascading effect. SENVAT credit was not available. What do you mean by SENVAT credit? It is nothing but a excise duty and the service tax, which is basically levied by the central government. That credit was not available to the retailers or to distributors. And third one is there is no credit available for a central sales tax. Fine, that is one part. We also see in the case of import also. Quickly, I will restart. The time is running out. I will restart once again.